The Alboran Sea is the westernmost portion of the Mediterranean Sea, lying between the Iberian Peninsula and the north of Africa, Spain on the north, and Morocco and Algeria on the south. The Strait of Gibraltar, which lies at the west end of the Alboran Sea, connects the Mediterranean with the Atlantic Ocean. its average, excuse me, Its average depth is 445 meters or 1,400 feet, and maximum depth is 1,500 meters or 4,900 feet. The International Hydrographic Organization defines the limits of the Alboran Sea as follows. On the west, the eastern limit, excuse me, on the west, the eastern limit of the Strait of Gibraltar, a line joining from the tip, Europa Point, of Cap Gibraltar in Europe to the tip of the Peninsula del Almina of Quetta in Africa. On the east, a line joining from Cabo de Gata in Andalusia in Europe to Cap Vigalo near Oran, Algeria in Africa. Several small islands dot the sea, including the eponymous Isla del Alboran. Most, even those close to the African shore, belong to Spain. You see a satellite image centered on the Alboran Sea. To the left, the Iberian Peninsula, and to the right, the north of Africa. The Alboran Domain, the seafloor beneath the Alboran Sea, known as the internal zones, together with the surrounding mountains, known as external zones, the Gibraltar Arc and Atlas Mountains, is mostly made of continental crust and marks the westernmost terminus of the Taranas that were subducted between the African and Eurasian plates when the Tethys Ocean closed. Recurring earthquakes at a depth of around 600 kilometers or 370 miles indicate that this subduction is ongoing and that complex interactions between the lithosphere and mantle are forming the region. The internal zones are made of late Paleozoic to Triassic rocks that were piled up during the Tertiary and has been extended since the early Miocene. The seafloor is morphologically complex with several subbasins, including three main subbasins named West, East, and South Alboran basins, ridges, and seamounts. The most prominent structure in the Alboran Sea is the 180-kilometer long or 110-mile Alboran Ridge, which stretches southwest from the volcanic Alboran Island. Surface currents in the Alboran Sea, influenced by the prevailing winds, flow eastward, bringing water from the Atlantic into the Mediterranean. Deeper subsurface currents flow westward, carrying saltier Mediterranean water over the Gibraltar sill into the Atlantic. Thus, there is typically a vertical rotary circulation, also known as a gyre, in the Alboran Sea as a result of this exchange of water. The Alboran Sea is a transition zone between ocean and sea, containing a mix of Mediterranean and Atlantic species. The Alboran Sea is habitat for the largest population of bottlenose dolphins in the western Mediterranean, is home to the last population of harbor porpoises in the western Mediterranean, and is the most important feeding grounds for loggerhead sea turtles in Europe. The Alboran Sea also hosts important commercial fisheries, including sardines and swordfish. In 2003, the World Wildlife Fund raised concerns about the widespread drift net fishing endangering populations of dolphins, turtles, as well as some other marine animals. An arc of mountains known as the Gibraltar Arc wraps around the northern, western, and southern sides of the Alboran Sea. The Gibraltar Arc is made up of the Baetic Cordillera of southern Spain and the Rif Mountains of Morocco. These mountains, known to ecologists as the Baetic Rift Complex, comprise one of the Mediterranean's biodiversity hotspots. Like the Alboran Sea, the Baetic Griffin Complex represents a transition between the Mediterranean and Atlantic, or Macaronesian ecological zones. The moderating influence of the Atlantic has allowed many relict species in the Baetic and Rift Mountains to survive the climatic fluctuations of the last 2 million years that have caused them to become extinct elsewhere or in the Mediterranean basin. Excuse me. Here we see a map of the Alboran Sea. There are some small islands in the sea, including Isla del Alboran, Islas Chafarinas, Peñón de Arequimas, Peñón de Vélez de la Gomera. That's all for today.